Hello, BookTube. I have a little bit of mail for you on this bright, blue-skied Friday. Another absolutely perfect day that starts off chilly. Type of day where you at least here in my area of Boston, you don't need to run the heat yet at all in the place. The day warms up just fine, and the night is chilly as the night should be. Just wonderful. So that when I finally, early this morning, 7:30 I think it was, convinced the bean to get out of bed and start stretching around a little, didn't go over well. She's not really going to say yes voluntarily before 11 or noon. And there's no way that I'm still going to be on the bed at 11 or noon. Even if I'm on the bed working, reading, and writing, I'm still going to be moved to the fainting couch or moving around. But when I convinced her to get up and about around 7:30, genuinely chilly, inside and out, very invigoratingly so. Just a gorgeous, crisp day. The only complaint I have with this kind of beautiful early autumn weather is that it's not early autumn. It's early winter. but you can't have everything, so I'm just going to overlook that fact and just take the day for what it was, which is absolutely wonderful. No complaints whatsoever. And I have two packages. I don't have any periodicals except for one that I haven't been able to let go of at all. I haven't been able to let go of this. This is the Bedford Times Press, a 147-year-old tiny, small-town Iowa newspaper. They print the latest triumph of all of the Bedford sports teams. They print the profiles of people who hope to be Bedford city councilors. They print the latest news about down power lines or a blocked road or something like that. And now they print a weekly book column by yours truly. There is me and the bean for the first column called Ex Libris, which I haven't done in 40 years. And I couldn't be any happier about it. So I really haven't let it go. But there aren't any other periodicals. But there are two packages. So this doesn't have to go to 30 minutes. Although yesterday's went to 30 minutes with only one package. Let's see what we have here. Let's see what this first one is. Hoping that they're both finished copies. That would be good. Insidiously. Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Okay. This is out already. This is by Amy License, and it is called Living Like Tudor. Wood, Smoke, and Sage, A Sensory Journey Through Tudor England. So was this published under the title Wood, Smoke, and Sage in the UK? Can I assume that? Let's see what we have here. Living Like a Tudor, something I know just a bit about. Wood, Smoke, and Sage, Peacocks and Cinnamon, Falcons and Linen. These were the textures of the Tudor world. They most certainly were not. They most certainly were not. You think peacocks were the tenors of the Tudor world? Those were the textures of the upper 1% of the Tudor world. But I think I probably know what you mean. Woven through gowns, served up at feasts, lingering in the air. Life is always a tactile experience, and no matter what higher ideologies of politics, religion, or science were occupying the minds of our ancestors, daily life was sustained by the physical fabric of the environment, both immediate and distant. In this book, the author takes readers on a 500-year journey back in time to experience the Tudor era through the five senses. Much has been written about the lives of the Tudors, but it is sometimes difficult to really grasp how they experienced the world. Well, it's still going to be really difficult if you're talking about, what was that again? Peacocks, cinnamon, falcons, and linen? But maybe that was just cover copy. Through sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch, the author presents a fresh perspective on the material culture of the past. This book is an insightful exploration of the Tudors' relationship with the fabric of their existence, from the clothes on their backs, roofs over their heads, and food in their tables, to the wider questions of how they interpreted and presented themselves, and their beliefs about life, death, and beyond. There's nothing beyond, but they can still have beliefs about that. Paradoxically, understanding the Tudors' physical world allows us to better understand their minds. The material world was the stage upon which the 16th century men and women carved out their identities, in response to what they saw, heard, smelled, tasted, and touched. I would argue that isn't true. I would argue that because what their world was like, that they specifically put a lot of emphasis on what they couldn't see, touch, smell. This book captures a different aspect of the enduring appeals of the Tudors and explores a physicality of life in the past. What were the Tudors' favorite perfumes? 99.9% of the people in the kingdom didn't use perfume, couldn't afford it, never had it, never even smelled it. 99.9%. How did the weather affect their lives? It was mighty cold. It was mighty cold a lot of the time. And what sounds from the past have been lost? Interesting. Interesting. I have read books like this before, what it's like to live in the past, and the number one thing that you would notice if you went back those 500 years is often not mentioned at all in books like this. Not mentioned a little, just ignored completely, and that is the reek of human beings. The reek of human beings is almost never mentioned. Almost never. If you are a prosperous middle class farmer, you worked your fields every day with your hands. You were there with them, pulling, pushing, lugging wood, moving rocks. Think about that. Think about doing that today. If you did that all day long in the bright, let's say, July sunlight, which is when it happened, you'd be covered in filth at the end of that day. Imagine if at the end of that day you briefly washed your hands, maybe your face, but didn't wash anything else. Didn't wash your clothes, didn't wash your body. And then the next day you did it again. And the day after that you did it again. And then the day after that you did it again. Imagine what you would smell like after 6 months. Anyway, let's find out about the author. Oh, she's very young. She's a best-selling historian of women's lives in the medieval and early modern period, from queens to commoners. Oh, well, if she's written about commoners, then maybe we will get a lot of that. That'd be great. Her particular interests lie in the 15th and early 16th century in gender relations, queenship and identity, rites of passage, sex, pilgrimage, female orthodoxy and rebellion, superstition, magic, fertility, and childbirth. Okay, well, I don't want to know what life living like a Tudor was like for that guy, for Henry VIII. I already know that, and so does everybody else. I want to know what it was like for someone if you are a minor alderman, and let's say you have a foreman to work your own land, and you've got a big home garden that serves most of your needs. You have a poultry yard, let's say, that also serves most of your needs. You have to have fuel for the winter. What is that fuel? Do you have money set aside? Do you have cash money set aside? What's your relationship with your neighbors? Is there anything like a police in your hamlet? Is there anything like that? Or is it all done by each other? And what happens if you are eating a piece of fish and a bone that you didn't catch, a long one, let's say a digit of your finger, just shivvies its way into your gum and you start bleeding in an abscess in your mouth? What do you do? How long is it before you realize that you have a problem that isn't going to go away? And once you realize that, what do you do about it? Now, we can talk all day long about what Henry VII would have done. I'm talking about that alderman, whose name we don't know. But it sounds like she's covered that Amy License has covered that ground. So maybe we will get that. Great. Okay. And there are lots of blurbs here, but not for this book. Philippa Gregory gives a blurb for something. The pub sheet just says praise for Amy License. It doesn't say what, unless of course this is her only book, in which case it would be for this. Well, the blurbs on the back are on the back of this book. The TLS, a complimentary blurb: Philippa Gregory, Sarah Gristwood, Susan Bordeaux. Okay. Well, great, fantastic. I'm hoping that it's granular. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm hoping that it's granular. Way too often, commissioning editors, publishers think that Tudor history, especially, worse than any other era, it has to be rollicking in general rather than granular. When I think the people who read this sort of stuff are perfectly happy with blizzards of details. I think they like that. I think they prefer it. I certainly do. But the book is out already. The book is published already in America. So I'm just getting the finished copy. I never got the advanced copy, so I'll read it tonight. If my guest leaves me in any condition to read books tonight. I might not be in any condition to read books tonight. Let's see what this next one is. This is the only other one, and then we'll move on. So what have we got here? Read that. What have we got here? Okay, this is another November release. This is for November 16th. This is by Amy Leach, and it is called The Everybody and Ensemble. Donkeys, Essays, and Other Pandemonium. Skinny little thing, coming out in a couple of weeks. Let's see here. The author is the owner of the biggest imagination you'll ever have the pleasure to experience secondhand. Her newest collection of writings, equal parts lyric and nature essay, is, above all else, a battle cry for humanity. From the titular essay onward, we are invited to let go of all that divides us. This is a quote. Humans, please turn your guns into kazoos. We come together with the baby birds in Greenland, a ferocious Pomeranian named Beanstan, Tycho Brahe and his dog, and anthropomorphized bacteria regretting their part in the evolution of oxygen that led to the human race. Bacteria do pretty good by humans. I don't think they'd regret it. Throughout these 24 exquisite and enlightening meditations, we are invited to find beauty and awe in the most unexpected of places, to protect and celebrate the planet we call home. What is most striking about Leach's writing is the obvious joy she finds in doing it. Well, that'll be my call, won't it, Seymour? Not yours. If I see a reviewer say some variation of, what's most striking about Leach's writing is her obvious joy in writing, I'm going to be pretty peeved. That's my call, not yours. There is so much warmth and wonder in her pages, so much love for our earth and everything in it. It is at once whimsical. I'm suspecting that it's a lot whimsical. It'll be the kiss of death. That is whether or not, when I open the covers of this book, I will know in an instant whether or not the covers themselves are lead protecting me from the kryptonite of whimsy. We'll find out. I'll find out. I'll know almost immediately. I'll know at the end of the first essay. These days, it seems an absolute privilege to know the secret to finding new things in the world to... All right. Let's try this again, shall we? Let's turn our GPS to maximum and try this monster of a sentence again. These days, it seems an absolute privilege to know the secret to finding new things in the world to ogle at and adore. Well, right now, we're all ogling at that sentence, because what on earth? What on earth is that? Oh, come on. I mean, whoever wrote this pub sheet, I know you're overworked, but take a minute. I don't even know what dimension that sentence is. And I can't break it down. I would ordinarily look at a train wreck like that and say, well, what the author means is, but I have no idea what that sentence means at all. And let's learn about the author, shall we? The author is the recipient of a Whiting Award, a Rona Jaffe Award, and a Pushcart Prize. Ooh, wow. Okay. Grew up in Texas, earned her MFA in nonfiction creative writing at the University of Iowa Writers' Workshop. I thought I sensed their hands in this. And currently lives in Montana. And her work has appeared in Best American Essays, Best American Science and Nature Writing, and numerous other publications, including A Public Space, Orion, Tin House, and the LA Review of Books. And this is her second book. And right on here, there's an author itinerary. Still not used to seeing those. Is it all virtual? It's all virtual. Okay. So she's having a virtual author event at Books Are Magic in Brooklyn on the Monday before her book comes out. And then, oh wow, a virtual meeting in Bozeman, Montana on the 18th. Then Greenlight Bookstore and the Bookseller in Chicago. Great. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. I feel for authors. I really did. That was one of the things that was on my mind at the beginning of 2020, was knowing how important not just writing your book and shepherding it through edits is for authors, but actually getting out in the hustings. That is so important for authors. Go to the readings, go to the events, go to the signings, and they couldn't do it anymore at all. And that really felt for authors during that year. Imagine if you were an author coming out with a book just as COVID was becoming a reality that we couldn't ignore anymore. Where all of a sudden your publisher is telling you not only are all of your events canceled, but we're closing down the office, so you can't even come in to protest. Okay, great. That's fantastic. So the Everybody Ensemble, Donkeys, Essays, and Other Pandemoniums by Amy Leach. So this comes out on November 16th. Fantastic. So these are both TBR items. I don't know what kind of reading I'll be doing tonight, but they're both nonfiction, and they're both right in my wheelhouse, so I will read both of them as soon as I can. I will certainly read them this weekend. But anyway, that is the mail for today. If more mail comes, as I'm eagerly waiting on a couple of items that have now been stubbornly not coming for days, then I'll let you know. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.